Good afternoon, ladies and gents. It's the 26th of February 2025, and I want a quick discussion on the Ukraine and Russia peace deal and what that could really sort of look like. First and foremost, this conflict is no longer just between Ukraine and Russia. It has become a war between the East and the West, meaning the conflict on the ground in Ukraine, who are the war proxy, is being fought by Ukraine, obviously, and Russia, but now also the North Koreans and then the backing of NATO. The Russian threat is no longer just Ukraine's problem. It's now a European threat. And that is why we're seeing ties between the EU and NATO surfacing to negotiate their own deals in terms of threats, war preparations, and the likely outcomes. Guys, this is going to be a quick video. This is going to be the first part of 4 or 5. There's been a lot that's gone on over the last couple of weeks, certainly in relation to Trump, the geopolitics or the political stage out there across the globe, certainly with America and Europe. I just want to clear these up, get them out of the way, and then start cracking on with daily news because I'm going to be honest with you, this is ramping up now. This is it. This is the middle game. The first 3 years of that war were the opening moves, sort of probing, getting assets primed and ready, get the infrastructure upgraded, ready to support the war machine, should we say. 2025 onwards is going to be the middle game. NATO really needs to be introduced into this war now, and there's no better way to do that other than getting, I suppose, NATO boots on the ground in Ukraine, whether that's in the guise of, I don't know, peacekeeping or whatever you want to call it. This is it, guys. There's crisis talks happening all over the world. If you're not taking note of what's going on, guys, then actually you probably don't even want to listen to the rest of this video, to be honest with you. Just jump off. Go and do some surfing, have a look around YouTube and all the rest of it for, other daily content, should we say. Again, like I say, this is going to be a short video, and we're just going to throw up some slides. We're going to get them out of the way, and just cover some sort of, I think, key points and aspects that should be covered at this stage. Right. We want nothing more, obviously, guys, than for this war to stop. But I'm a realist. I work on logic and have been tracking the Ukraine war for probably 1100 days now, each and every day. On top of that, over the last 3 years, we've seen the conflict spotlight move across the Middle East, conflicts across the whole region, which is going to be involving, obviously, primarily Israel, Lebanon, Yemen, Syria, and now Iran. We're seeing economies around the world taking heavy hits, and many countries slowly but surely sort of crumbling or continuing to crumble, shall we say. We saw 64 general elections across the globe in 2024, ultimately changing the dynamics of the political stages everywhere. North Korea, China, Iran, and Russia coming together to form its own alliance, potentially. An alliance that's going to be against the West. And right now, I'm finding it difficult to see what kind of deals can be presented at the negotiating table between Putin and Zelensky. But that's what we're going to do. Well, we're going to discuss quickly here because it just seems to be the talk of the town. But guess what? As expected, no one's really sort of talking about those negotiations and what they look like or what they could look like. And that is pretty much because yeah, these are they're the early stages. Okay, they haven't even started, to be honest. Well, they probably have, not on the political stage, they haven't, but in the back room, in the back office, across their secured channels, and various other stuff. Listen, what we see on social media and and everywhere else online, mainstream and all that, it's smoke and mirrors. Okay, it's bollocks. We're always the last to know, and 9 times out of 10 it will be when it's too late. Um, Let's start with the current state of play on the battlefield. Russia have gained approximately 20% of Ukraine territory over the last 3 years, and Ukraine have gained a very small piece of Russian territory in southern Russia, and that's going to be the Kursk Oblast. If there was a ceasefire today and they're brought to the table, what options are there for both sides? Let's start with Putin. There is no way on earth he's going to want to be giving up any of the territory gained thus far in Ukraine, unless, of course, there is something in it for him. So with that in mind, where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us exactly in the same place as we are right now, because we have to look at where that leaves Ukraine. It means that they've lost their territory to an invading force, not necessarily lost the war, but personally, losing 20% of their territory is a big loss to Ukraine. And embarrassing, actually, it's an embarrassment achievement, I would say, for the Russians, as it's taken them 3 years to achieve that goal. Remember, these are potential negotiations, and what is it, that Russia can offer in return? That's going to be the ultimate question, guys. And I'll be honest with you, that's where I'm stuck. What is Russia going to be offering Ukraine in exchange for the invasion? I can't answer that question. But let's just look at the bigger picture. That being Europe and NATO. If Russia get to keep the territory gained, then that is a direct threat to Europe and not America. So whilst everybody's assuming that Trump is, going to negotiate, and on what grounds is he going to do so? Because it's not in favor of the Europeans at the moment. Again, it's listen, I'm just speculating here because there's nothing really being said. Do you know what worries me about this? The reason why there's not much being said about, potential peace deals and what that would look like. My concern is this. I don't think there's anything that can be discussed on that in that boardroom around that negotiation table between whoever it is that's that's been assigned the job, shall we say. We're dealing with Putin. He's a dictator and he doesn't give a shit. That's it. He's got an agenda. It's actually personal for him, which makes it a little bit more difficult, shall we say. And he's not going to give up. Now, if you're going to negotiate, you have to give something up. So I just don't see what there is. So if we're in that position and we're in that state, then there's only one thing that's left, and that's all out war. Um, Moving on though, Trump cannot simply say to Putin, "Keep the land that you've stolen." But if you do it again, then you're in trouble, for fuck's sake. Ukraine have fought this war, and probably harder. It's a harder war than many sort of wars that the US and some Europeans have ever experienced themselves. And to be, sort of coming in and giving away land to an invading enemy is a massive sign of weakness, because I just cannot see what Putin can offer Ukraine in exchange other than some kind of ceasefire and or peace deal. But then what does that look like? But to be, to be honest, at what cost to the Ukrainian people? Who would rather, in my eyes, they would rather fight until the death to protect their land, and would any other nation? I know I would. Another point Putin made back in June 2024 when asked about the negotiations was for Russia to keep the territory taken so far, and also for Ukraine never to join NATO. And all Putin offered then was a ceasefire deal. Honestly, if there are negotiations, and I'm not sure that there will be of some sort, because Trump has already committed himself. I just don't see Trump being able to take much to the negotiation table on behalf of the Europeans. The Europeans are going to have to be there to a degree, and certainly Ukraine are going to have to be there. And it just seems at the moment that the US, are just looking for some kind of business deal. I don't know. So we'll have to watch this space. NATO have committed themselves to this conflict, and quite rightly so, as we cannot be seen to, firstly, allow this to be happening, but also this invasion threatens others. The NATO alliance in Europe has been, let's say, preparing for war with Russia over the last 3 years. So, as I've said on previous videos, I don't want to be discussing the politics, especially American and British politics, if I can help it, but it's sometimes impossible. It's impossible at the moment. It was interesting to hear Donald Trump's inauguration a month ago, and I wanted to listen to it just for a couple of reasons. I wanted to see if he would be mentioning the war in Ukraine, the purchasing of Greenland, the potential wars in Iran and China. Nothing about Ukraine at all. At that point, that was. And do you know why I think that is? It will be because he knows that there's not going to be too much, or not, there's just not going to be much that he can bring to the. Oh, okay, right. Let's just rewind. On behalf of, let's say, Ukraine and or NATO. It seems to be on behalf of Ukraine, but again, I've just said it. I don't know what Putin is going to be able to bring to the negotiation table. Zelensky is going to want his land back or their land back. So that's not happening. So we're stuck. So what is an alternative? Okay, so I'm just thinking that Putin, not Putin, Trump is going into this like it's some kind of fucking business deal, and that everyone's going to dance to his tune, and that's it. It's done. Because all you got to do to get people to sway, shall we say, just offer them a few £1 million, and off they go. This is not business in terms of corporate business, shall we say. Trump, has done. Whether it's meaningful or not, has talked a load of bollocks. Those are the reasons as to why I think he does. Um, when I say he does, he talks dribble because he can't give any sort of definitive sort of answers to any of the questions that are being asked globally at the moment. However, in his defense, he is going to take back control of America, it seems, because this is exactly what the US needs right now. To stop getting involved in too many outside businesses, or shall we say, putting external business first, before dealing with the difficulties at home. So, for example, the Mexican border, we've heard plenty about that. I was only saying a couple of weeks ago, actually, on a video, that there's been between 9 to 10 million illegal immigrants crossing the border into America over the last 4 years, I believe, and we thought we had problems here in the UK. And he's going to take control of the Panama Canal, apparently. So he's dealing with American borders and sovereignty closer to home. There are internal government issues he's going to want to be dealing with, but I'm not going to lie. The one that really did put a smile on my face was the two gender only policy. Um, I like that. But listen, this channel isn't about that shit, and we're not going to be going down that rabbit hole. The drilling of oil sounds like that's right up there on the agenda. The removal of I think it was the electric car mandate, which I'm guessing stipulates the. Uh, I haven't seen the mandate, so I don't know. But it's probably stipulating the phasing out of petrol and diesel cars to be replaced, obviously, by EVs or electric vehicles. That's going to go down well with the climate change crew, shall we say. Climate change for me is like politics and religion. I'd rather not get involved because, my take on climate change is similar actually to Trump. Climate cycles are happening now, not climate change. Climate cycles are Earth's natural sort of way of changing, and climate change is simply us humans making a fucking mess of God's planet. And we should just clean it up. Rising temperatures is natural. And with that, the ice caps are going to melt. The oceans littered with plastic bottles is simply us being lazy and messy motherfuckers. But listen, enough about all that as well, because I don't want to be going down that rabbit hole either, as that's not what this channel's about. And of course, what do I know? So moving on. In summary, like I said, this is short. It's going to be a short video. We're going to finish this off. So in summary, that being Trump, would have instantly made plenty of enemies there during that speech when he talks about waging war against the cartels and completely annihilating the Democratic Party, voicing his opinions on how badly the Democrats have been running the country. So, it's always an opportunity for him to put them down and to, you know, highlight the mess that they left the country in. And what a shit state they have left it in, to be honest with you. But again, I'm not American. I'm here in the UK, and I can only go by what I see, on social media and on online. Okay, I'm not a US citizen, and those guys are the ones that will know a whole lot more than me. Um, and we've heard that we've seen that political finger pointing before. Certainly here in the UK, Labour and the Conservatives come to mind. Once the shit starts hitting the fan, they start finger pointing and actually stabbing each other in the back. When I say stabbing each other in the back, we saw it with the Conservatives. They were stabbing their own colleagues in the back, all fighting to get to the top. So there's no loyalty there. Enemies across the gender confused nation, illegal immigrants trying to cross the border, and also those that are already there in America. Enemies with all the green eco organizations out there across the world, and the list of enemies is going to quickly grow. As we haven't even started with the taking back of the Panama Canal and the renaming of the Mexican Gulf Sea. We haven't even mentioned the Middle East and other regions across the world, and that's it. So yeah, listen, Trump's is notching up many enemies. However, if um if America are gonna drill baby drill, then there's no real purpose for them to be in the Middle East, in my view. But then again, well, why are there? Why are they there in? Right, let's put it this way: they've got quite a substantial military presence across the Middle East still. You just have to ask yourself the question, why? Is it just to keep law and order and to keep everything settled, or anyway? Don't worry about it. I'm going completely off track here. Um, What we do have to bear in mind, though, however, is the Iranian or Iran's nuclear program that's going to, I think, come to an abrupt end. I still think, though, that if the head of the Russian snake is removed, then Western or American force will be dominant. The likes of North Korea will go running back under the stone that they crawled out of, and the Chinese might even think twice about, taking Taiwan. But again, what do I know? So there you have it. Trump is now up and running, 5 weeks into his tenure, or it's probably six now. Time is zipping past. He's out there, he's running the show, running America, which is going to be run by a bunch of billionaire businessmen. It doesn't matter about their background. If they can make America great again, then that's a good thing for the Americans. But at what cost? Keep your ear to the ground, ladies and gents. Get prepared. The show is about to begin. Okay, so that's it for me on this one. I will catch up with you soon.